Marc is one of my best friends. He's a former business partner, and he's still somebody I go to when I got stuff going on, because I know that there's a few people that I can share with that will hear me and they will tell me what I need to hear. And Marc's that guy. And we're going to talk about how that wasn't the case when we were actually business partners. What was that? Almost a decade ago.
Is it that long?
I know, right? Yeah, not quite, about 8 years.
Right.
But my how things have changed and my how we can change. So, Marc, welcome to say hello to everybody.
Howdy.
And rather than butchering your creds, will you share just your history and where you're at now?
Yeah. So, I mean, on a personal level, I got sober really young. So, at 22, I got sober. Now I'm 47, so I'm 25 years sober.
Good, high five. Yeah. That's crazy. Cool.
I know, yeah.
No comprende? I got some time now, but I only have 22 years.
Right. So, on a personal level, that means a lot to me because it sent me down that whole path of learning and growth, and I took it super serious. As you know, I'm a 0 or 10 guy. And go ahead.
As you said, Marc said, anything worth doing is worth doing to an extreme. And I went, oh man, I love you. I relate.
Right. It's true. Yeah.
But he takes it to a whole other level.
So for me, it was always the early stages were about learning balance and all that stuff. Yeah. But so, I did a meeting every night for 7 years. I read 3 books a week because I held myself accountable to that. I turned off my TV, threw it away, and I went into a mission of rebuilding Marc because I had horrible examples. I love my parents. They're great. I have relationships with my mom still. My dad, I'm kind of estranged from. But at the same time, they were people just like me doing their best. My kids may do that to me too. I don't know, They may reflect back on my parenting and have some chagrin. In fact, I guarantee it. But at the same time, I didn't have great examples of how to be a good friend, a good husband, 7 marriages and divorces, all that different stuff meant I had to learn from mentors and books.
And that wasn't you who has been married 7 times and 7 divorces. You've been married 1 time to the same woman.
Right.
With 2 amazing boys.
Yeah. Both my boys are awesome. So anyway, on a personal level, I would say that that program of just learning I had 3 things. I do a lot of praying. I'm a very deeply spiritual guy. So I believe God's going to ask me 3 questions. What did you learn? Who did you love? And did you live life with joy? Mm-hmm. It took me about 5 years of that 7 to figure out to add on that last one, live life with joy. Mm-hmm. I took it so serious, the learning, and I needed to learn how to love, that I wasn't enjoying the process. It was just constantly chasing the next new way that I was just going to fucking okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel that. I know that blanket so well.
Just that baseline, that rebounding point of I'm okay. I was always dipping below that and then bouncing up against it and then being shoved back down. And so anyway.
Can I speak to that a little bit? So you got more creds I want to be able to share. I think it would be safe to say now that I know from, again, my good friend Daryl Hill, NLP practitioner, helps people with PTSD. We got the label Chaos Kids, and it's safe to say that you're a Chaos Kid too. Mm. And what a Chaos Kid is that when other kids, and not everybody, I'm sure this wasn't you, but there are some folks out there who mom cut off the crust of their bread and they packed their little lunch, give them a kiss on the forehead and send them out the door. And then at night they had dinner and they tucked them in and read and bedtime. That's how it was for me for 7 years. And then all hell broke loose. And I know Marc's story very well. We were the kids that once you become, when the crusts aren't being cut off, when you're not being tucked in, when you're wondering where mom and dad are, when all the crazy stuff that goes on, when you're just no longer safe and you don't have the disciplines and consistencies of family, you're thinking about, am I going to be okay today? And that's every single day. So when we come into adult life, we didn't have all the disciplines and the rituals and the habits that a lot of people had as they went off into adult life. We were still trying to figure out, are we safe? Am I okay? Am I the reason that mom and dad, split? And that stuff is that's not victimhood. It once was. I used that sucker like a badge, man. Now it's just recognition. We're doing something about it. So
Yeah. So on a personal level, literally I've spent my whole adult life remaking who I was raised to be. I mean, I really, trying to break the generation in the family, so anyway, on a personal level, that I guess my accolades on a professional level is the same kind of 10 guy. I always figured out how to make a whole lot of money in a short period of time. I was a paid mouth for hire.
Talk about that a little bit, will you? You were one of the top 3 pitchmen, which might have a bad connotation, but it's not. It's an incredible gift.
Yeah. So people don't know about this business because it's kind of the sleeper. But I was in the business of the Muli, the Ginsu, the Chamois, all that stuff. I didn't do any of those products. I was kind of what they call the FNG, the fucking new guy, right? And I came into the product with a water purifying water bottle, and we could do numbers like roll into a show and make 30 grand cash in, 15 days. And it was a whole new world of freedom and cash for me at a young age. Cause I did kind of the corporate sales world for a little, and I rocked that world because I was just really gifted. They say 2% of the population has the power of woo. Yeah. Well, I'm part of that 2%.
You are.
I just am. Sure. But at the same time, it's important for your watchers to realize there's a huge difference between confidence and cockiness. Confidence says I'm great at some things and I suck at others. I'm really clear at what I suck at, but I'm also super clear what I'm good at. Right. That's confidence. It's not cockiness. So when I say I got the power of woo, I just do, right? So because I have that, and because my sales skills, it went from that into, okay, now I know I can do anything. Who's getting the lifestyle I want? Well, these pitchman guy that I bumped into, he's working 6 months a year. He's making over 100K back when 20 plus years ago, cash, and traveling the world, right? And I went, I want me some of that. Right. So I went from the bottle, and then I rose to the top with my wife, who I met through the pitch process, who was also one of the best pitch women in the country.
That's so cool.
And we teamed up, and we went to the biggest ticket item in the industry, which was cookware. Right. And we went clear to, we had a year between us and our team, we sold $35 million in cookware at giant margins.
You hear that? That's crazy. These are the things that rip what's possible above. And I know that, we've shared the story a long time, and I remember when Marc said, dude, I used to travel and make $400,000 a year, mind you, cash, in 6 months, and then we just traveled the world for 6 months. What a lifestyle, right?
Yeah. It was always interesting. We had a place up at Tamarack Resort, and President Bush rented our house from us and everything like that. So we had this really high posture in this really elite environment. And I was golfing with CEOs and everything else. And I remember the CEO of Power Bar one time. I got matched up with him on the course. And it was always such a funny question for me because it was, what do you do? What do you do? And I go, well, I sell cookware. Me and my wife sell cookware. And he goes, are you that pots and pans guy? Right? So I always called it the business of lots of guts and no glory. Everybody who walked by my booth felt sorry for me. And I felt sorry for myself all the way to the bank every time in my movie star motorhome and my lifestyle, right?
Dude, I remember that too. I'd walk in, literally, I remember going, that poor guy, because we go to the fair, right, to ride rides and eat corn dogs. And you walk in, and there's this poor guy over there with a mic on making chicken for folks in these chairs. As soon as I met you, I was I stopped feeling sorry for those guys, man. I was like, oh my God, I had no idea. And I don't think people really do.
Yeah, it was cool. And at the same time, I lived super conservatively. I never lived on over 100,000 a year. In fact, all those years, I held myself accountable to live on 65 grand a year. I could afford a Ferrari, but I bought a 10-year-old used 4-wheel drive, and I just always parlayed my money, and we made it into other things. We lived broke, but we're rich in the bank, and lots of different stuff that allowed us to retire early. And then 2008 turned us upside down, and then we got this redo and all these different things. So I guess you could call that my backstory, so that people kind of know, what I've done, I guess. Well,
I appreciate it, Marc, and thanks for sharing that, though, in the way you do. And I think that for people who are watching to recognize is there's a pattern here. Marc didn't hit a lottery ticket win. He didn't just get lucky. He's earned it, worked for it, studied it, gone through the dark valleys, and been able to stand on the peaks. But it's replicatable. guaranteed if Marc Warnke decided to walk away from Outdoors International right now and got hunts.com, that he would be just fine. And he would have time to think about it. He'd be able to create something and then employ the principles that he's practiced and learned, and start another amazing company. And that's what I love about that. I love having a pattern, a map to follow, which is what you're creating. Quick question. How many days do you really think you've spent in the backcountry?
Wow.
This will blow your minds.
Well, just this year, because I'm that way about it, I track mileage.
Yeah.
And I'm over 300, I'm like 358 miles now in the backcountry this year.
358. Now that's on your heels, not on wheels.
On my feet, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
So now share what that most recent hunt that you went on that is epic, because I know a lot of people like PETA, they don't understand. I want you to speak a little bit to that too, because not a lot, but just the fact that the reason we have big game, the reason Africa even still has lions is because of hunters.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a necessary for people who and for people who wonder. I'm as deep a lover of an animal as anybody will ever.
I've watched you pray over a kill.
Oh yeah, well, and I would cry like a baby if one of my goats die, right? You know, right. So I'm deeply passionate and an animal lover, and that doesn't make me unique. So are other hunters. It's a really misunderstood thing, and it's okay, and I get it. I celebrate my curiosity of their position. I only ask for their mutual curiosity, right? If they ask questions, they would learn that what I do is super respectful. And all those different things. So for example, just one blanket example of the conservation that hunters do. It was 30 years ago in South Africa, there were about 500,000 animals. Today, there's 27 million. And the reason is because they turned farms into hunting properties, and those hunting properties are now thriving. And it's not just the animals, it's the dung beetle, it's the moth, it's the boa constrictor, it's the tortoise, it's all those things that are coming back, the natural flora and fauna. None of those things would have happened without hunting, and money does talk on a global level, and money does protect animals. And we put up more money than any group by 1 billion miles. It's not even close. Look at the Ducks and Ducks Unlimited and the success of all those. So I won't go on to that, but as a hunter, I personally prefer backcountry, getting 10 miles in with my pack goat string and hauling out elk and filling up my freezer. I don't eat cow.
Right. And you don't shop for meat.
I don't. No.
It's so on the way over, walking over here, Marc shared with me that something just blows my mind. And you who have been in the backcountry and just hiked with your shoes and no pack know how challenging it can be. Marc hiked out 9 miles.
Yeah, a little over 9. With
127 pounds of animal on his back in the backcountry. And so that kind of leads us into, how the freak do you do that, bro? I mean, how do you get your body in shape to do that kind of work? Because I know last year you went in the backcountry and lost 13 pounds of muscle, which was hard earned all season long to lose it on a hunting trip. And this season, sounds like the most ambitious and strenuous trip you've been on in a while. And you actually gained 1 pound of muscle. What's up, bro?
Yeah. Okay. So it was pretty interesting. I'm a tinkerer, right, with my body and figuring it out. And so I want to preface this with it that I have found that my results sometimes are unique to how it applies to other people. Right?
Okay. So, and when you say you're a tinkerer, that means glucose meters. That means checking every level possible in your body, pH and all that stuff, right?
Measuring, taking pictures, documenting workouts, energy levels. Seeing what my heartbeats per minute are on my HIIT trainings and where I can achieve and how much progress do I get. I measure everything because I'm curious, not because I'm just curious. I find my body so interesting to do things with and see how it performs and how I can tweak this and make that get better. And it's mainly because I'm sniffing distance from 50. I stink of 50 and I have what most people wish they had as a body wise now in their early 20s.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm lean, I'm super fit, I'm super freaking strong. And I tell people that people ask me all the time, man, tell me about your fitness regimen. It's not about fitness, it's about food.
About food. Perfect.
It totally is.
Yeah.
So So my discovery during elk season, and bear in mind, so this I hunted out of the last 30 days, I hunted 19 days. I did 136 miles in the backcountry in 19 days, hauled out all those super heavy loads. We killed 3 different bulls in 9.5 miles in. We hauled just over 1,000 pounds.
That's not like shooting it from the road, letting it roll into the back of the truck. You were 9 miles in the backcountry.
Correct.
Where you harvested these animals.
Correct. Yeah, I killed my bull at 9,800 feet. The video that I show, I do a video and I show people how to butcher an elk into small enough pieces for a goat to pack it out. Mm-hmm. And somebody said, why do you sound out of breath? And because I'm almost 10,000 feet having a conversation, right? Yeah. Right? It's not because I'm out of shape. I'm looking around big chunks of meat and trying to talk to you to show you how to do a fucking butcher, you jackass. Try to poke me in the ribs, will you? Right?
Yeah, dude. And he's strong, but he won't waste time on his muscles, man. He'll just freaking cut you, man.
So here's a funny thing, right? So I don't know if it's genetics, dietary, or how I lift, but I'm not super strong. I look strong, and I'm super endurance, and I'm super cardio, but I got legs and lungs. And I know I look good above the waist, and I kind of work hard to look good above the waist, but my core and my legs and my ass... Are you saying you look better
below the waist? All our female viewers like... Well,
no, I'm actually really short, but kind of skinny.
And humble too.
So anyway, so what I did this year that was different is that I concentrated on fat intake because it's so calorically dense. Because remember, when I'm considering what I'm eating in the backcountry, it's all about weight too. Right. What am I willing to haul? Mm-hmm. What am I going to make my goats haul? Mm-hmm. How much natural food can I take in? Preservatives, all those different things. And those things kind of go out the wayside because I got to pack in dehydrated, prepackaged food. And that's kind of what I'm living on. Right. Mm-hmm. And I have 2 different models. I use a base camp model and I use what I call sleeping on bulls model, which is where when we get done hunting that night, that's camp, right? Mm-hmm. Middle of the forest, clear some logs. Let's saw some logs and make enough room for a tent, for a 2-man tent. And is there a creek close enough to get water, right?
Wow, I mean, so cool, man.
You know, and we just roll from elk herd to elk herd and we sleep amongst them. So you're sleeping. It's really pretty cool, right? So there's that, and then there's the base camp model. And when I use a base camp model, we're cooking big giant single pots, and I eat a brick of butter a day in base camp model.
So can you cover your macros on that? Like carbohydrates, fats, and proteins are macronutrients. Mm-hmm. So what are your macros, man?
So butter is fat,
right?
And I also cook bacon. So I take lots of butter and bacon. Those are my 2 best light sources that I can do that in. I also take in a mountain house and or lots of meat. Okay. So remember, 2 different models. Right. Base camp, I can haul in coolers of meat, right, on the goats.
Right.
When I'm rolling, I have to bring in mountain house. And so mountain house has a certain amount of protein and a certain amount of fat and a certain amount of carbohydrates, but it's just about calories.
Mountain House is a brand?
Mountain House is a brand of bagged dehydrated food. Add water, there's dinner.
Now, and I want to go back up just a little bit. You said that you eat a brick of butter a day.
Yeah.
Like a brick of butter, we're talking a lot of calories.
Because by my estimations, for me to maintain weight, I have to eat about 4,000 calories a day.
That's a lot.
Have you ever tried to eat 4,000?
It's ungodly. Thank God for fats.
It's eating is a job, right?
All the time.
Yeah, and at the same time, so I at home, my stay super lean. I'm 10.8% body fat right now, right? And my eating at home system is primarily proteins, fats, slow carbs, slow burning carbs. And then I have a couple of cheat days and we can go through my home system. Yeah. But in camp, it's all about caloric intake, right? Yeah. I need super heavy duty calories and it's fun because I get to eat like a big fat fatty. And I eat tons of chocolate covered almonds. I eat tons of Reese's. I eat tons of Chico sticks. All the yummy old stuff. Yeah. I got a bag this big of candy that I eat throughout the day because I tested my body. So check it out. When I was going into ketosis, right? And so when I was full blown deep ketosis, like 3.2.
We're talking purple on the scale. And I was getting, digital measurements. So I was, my ketones were like a 3.2, 2.8, stuff like that. So tell me the difference between a pea strip and what you were doing.
So I was poking my finger, drawing the blood into a ketone, monitor, right?
Yeah, okay.
And it would come in and tell you how many your percentage of ketones in your bloodstream. Wow. Anything over like 1, you're in ketosis.
And you were where?
Like 2.8, 3.2, I could get that deep, especially if I fasted. And using fasting has been a super interesting experiment that I found really cool too, right? But anyway, so when I'm deep in ketosis, like 2.8, 3.2, I have a class I lovingly call dance class, right? Mm-hmm. It's a chick class, and it's the hardest fucking thing I do. Yeah. And this lady is so inspirational. I got like a I'm not into your vagina crush on her, right?
Right. Yeah, no, I do know.
She's just this beam of light in my life that I get to see once a week that does this awesome class that crushes me, right? So we burn, listen to this, 800 to 1,200 calories in 55 minutes. Dude. In that class. Dude, you got to come do it with me sometime. It's so hard. Jumping and all kinds of crazy stuff. It's so hard. So anyway, I started experimenting with honey, and I wanted to see how many tablespoons of honey I could eat and still stay in ketosis during that class. So I could, if you know much about ketosis, right?
50 calories or gram of carbs or less.
Or less. I shoot for 30 to stay deep, right? Which is hard, right? So I could get to 2.5 heaping tablespoons of honey and blood test after that class and still be in ketosis.
That is pure sugar. Anybody who's done this, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So that's the level of that's the extreme. Anything worth doing is worth doing to extreme. I think you guys are starting to get the idea of what we're talking about here. Yeah. And that's why going to Marc for these deeper questions has been so great, because if he gets interested in something, he's going to know everything about it. He's going to test it on himself. He's going to come back and tell you the truth about it. And with that said, let's talk about ketosis, because we had a conversation about a month ago, and I said, I want to have you on. I want to talk about ketosis. And you said, dude, well, I got to tell you this. I don't think it's sustainable for the average person. And so we speak to that. And if there's a benefit for people to even try, and you just to share your experience, man.
Well, I think there's 2 things everybody should try. And that's fasting, intermittent, long fasting, short fasting, different fastings, to pay attention to how your body just gets effed up by everything you eat. Holy crap, is food kind of our enemy and our blessing? Yeah. Unbelievable. Because remember, I track everything, right? Right. So I'm a yoga practitioner. I'm 4 or 5 years in now. I can do the arm balances that only the instructor can do, and I and maybe one other super cool chick, right? Wow, so I can do that stuff. And I was hitting moves I've never been able to hit during ketosis and during fasting. So it really taught me how much my body was being influenced by inflammation, and how much food caused that, and how much the biggest value, in my opinion, is anti-inflammation of ketosis. And inflammation is throughout everything in terms of brain fog, gut health, longevity, cancer, all that stuff. I mean, inflammation's a big freaking giant, huge, ridiculously giant deal. It is huge.
It's huge. It is so huge. And obviously you're passionate about it, because a lot of people think that it's, it's fats that are the problem. Cholesterol is the problem. And it's ultimately, it is inflammation. Arterial walls are smooth and slick when they're in an optimal state. But when you start eating any inflammatory foods, wheat, corn, soy, dairy, they swell up and they get soft, right? And so now anything that is sugar or converts to sugar is abrasive, goes through and it scratches those walls. And cholesterol, which you need for estrogen, progesterone, testosterone to be optimal, cholesterol comes through and says, hey, we're going to fix that. There's a scratch. And it starts packing it up, and then it clogs the artery, not because cholesterol is bad, it's trying to help. It's because of the inflammation, right? And so you should go on.
Well, and that's another thing. So I get blood tested once a year, full blood workup, and I have the cholesterol levels and the blood pressure levels of a friggin' 20-year-old kid, and I push it super hard, and I eat half a stick of butter a day almost.
Right? In the lowlands at home.
Right. So awesome. So anyway, so where were we? Oh, sugar.
Fasting and ketosis and strength.
Yeah. So I guess I want to speak to sugar. Why do I eat a bag of candy? Because I can, and because I needed caloric intake. Now, do I recognize the inflammation that it causes? I do, but it's just a great source of just easy all day long. I get to eat whatever I want to eat, and the more calorie dense, the better. And to be honest, I'm so restrictive in how I eat at home. It was fun to eat candy for a month.
Right. And when you came back, all you'd have to do is fast for a couple of days and the inflammation would be gone and you're good to go again back on.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, I can cleanse out. I don't have to do any aggressive cleansing. I just need to get back onto clean eating. And it happens pretty fast for me. So I don't get super concerned about that. And we eat and cook healthy at home. So as far as ketosis goes, one of the keys that I would tell people is that our bodies love carbs. There's a reason why we all have problems with carbs. They're borderline addictive.
Right.
Proteins aren't really addictive. Fats really aren't addictive, but carbs, they're addictive, right?
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. And
our bodies love them. So instead of fighting that, I use carbs at appropriate times to give myself I don't want to be restrictive my whole freaking life, right? That's why ketosis didn't work. I had about 8 items I could eat regularly, and those got old.
How long were you in ketosis, food adapted ketosis?
Super solid, like 5-6 months.
I'm thinking like, a couple months, 5-6 months. Yeah. It's a long time. But see, that's what I love about Marc, man, is he'll take it and he'll test it and I can just get the feedback, I was about 6 weeks into full-blown ketosis and I really needed to practice breathing and calming because I had more energy than I'd ever had in my life.
Oh, interesting.
I could remember every name, every conversation. You know how there's like these perfect words that would make a conversation flow and you're like, my God, I'm a genius. That's the way it felt all the time. Like I could literally just like watch this shit and like levitate stuff with my mind.
But I'm telling you, I think that was inflammation.
Reducing the inflammation.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm telling you, that's the value. So the interesting part is, so here's where I believe everybody should do ketosis because they should realize how fucked up their body is getting by inflammation. Yeah. They need to know what that feels like to know kind of, well, where can I find it in an eating system that can work or a different, because again, I don't think ketosis is long-term. The other thing is I believe there are questions about the ability of a body to rebuild itself in heavy ketosis long-term. Sure. I think I suffered some injuries that I wouldn't have suffered had I not been there. When I came back out, it was amazing to me how I ate and that I didn't gain weight, which meant my body was going, I needed some of that. I needed some of this. I needed some of that. Those little fracture things that your body desperately needs, lots of little amounts of, but doesn't get from 8 items. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I do know what you mean. Yeah. And I take a vitamin regimen and I do supplements and I do all those things, but it's nothing like getting it from food and those little things. I mean, they just make a difference. Yeah.
Well, like what you're talking about, like Mark Hyman, Promoter, all these guys that we talk about, like, 200 years ago, we didn't have an Albertsons on every corner. What we did is we ate what we found. That was the day. It occupied a lot of our time. Us men, instead of going to the job and earning money and going to the grocery store and bringing home food, we went out and we got our food. We harvested it and we brought it back. And the reality is, even like fruit is a sugar. It's nature's sugar and it's beautiful. It's wonderful. But we didn't have berry bushes and apple trees and orchards all over the place. What we would do is we would eat nuts and roots and meat very consistently. And then when we found a blackberry bush, we'd say, right on. And we'd all park around that blackberry bush and we would eat the entire motherfucking thing until it was gone and we'd lay there. And then we might not have fruit again for a month. Right. And so when we have all this food pyramid that is purely motivated by money and doesn't care about us, that's a problem. And so that's what I love about what you do is it's like, look, I got the data. That's bullshit. This is what works. Right. And every body is different. So everybody, highly encourage everyone, be responsible. You're responsible for your health. I'm responsible for mine. Our doctors are there. They're treating like, what did Dr. Drew Kidder say? The what? They're treating the what? The symptom. We've got to deal with the why. Why is this happening? And if we're unwilling to change the behaviors, then you know what? We all get to live in the outcomes of our choices.
Yeah, no question. And so I think here, because I'm asked questions all the time on a social level, I think I can predict what your audience is curious about right now. They want to know, okay, well, what do you eat? Right?
Yeah.
Now, luckily for me, it's really easy to explain.
Yeah.
Where did I land? And I think it's super important for you to realize carbohydrates, because they are a reward, and I choose them as that, right? I choose them.
Right.
I'm not big on like noodles and breads and stuff like that, but I like how and I believe gluten is the devil too.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm not that guy that's super sensitive to it that I feel crappy. So I can still eat pizza and go, yeah, I like pizza. Right. You know, so I know now I have an eating system where I can still enjoy things like that.
Yeah. And
that's where I arrived. Yeah. So my arrival of all these different years has been this, and it's very close to the whole 4-hour work week, slow carb stuff, right? So what I do is I cheat on Wednesday night.
Taking notes.
So I cheat on Wednesday night, and I cheat on Saturday.
Wednesday and Saturday.
Wednesday night.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Saturday are cheat days.
Correct.
Cheat days or meals?
Cheat days.
Okay.
Yeah. No, well, excuse me. So Saturday's a cheat day. Wednesday is cheat night.
Cheat night. Okay, got it.
Okay. Got it. So if I describe Monday, I always start off with, we have our own chicken, so I always start off with eggs. It's a super easy thing. I eat 3 or 4, right? So I eat 3 or 4 eggs. My next meal is, I set an alarm for myself at 10:30 and 2:30, because those are the 2 times I forget to eat. And that is a half of a Pro Bar, which will give me some protein intake and a little bit of carbs. And then I eat a handful of almonds, pumpkin seeds, and walnuts, because I want some fat, right? So that's my midday snack. My rule is never be hungry. I don't ever want to, if I'm hungry, I screwed up, right? I don't ever want to be hungry. So at 10:30, my alarm goes off. I eat my half a little Pro Bar, protein bar, and it also gives me a little sweet treat. So I kind of like that. And then I eat my little handful of nuts. At lunch, I eat primarily protein, and then I mix in some way where I can get a slow carb in there. Yams, quinoa, rice, lentils, refried beans, whatever it is, right? So I'll mix that in. That's my first real carb of the day. Then at 2:30, my alarm goes off, my other half a Pro Bar and my handful of nuts. And then at dinner, I eat a protein, vegetable-based, and then slow carb thing. So I eat a big portion of meat, and again, it's always elk, or we raise our own chickens, and so it's a chicken or whatever it is. And then I'll have some portion of slow carb, and then I'll have a giant freaking vegetable, whatever it is. That's when I get my main greens, is at dinner. And if I lack in something, greens for me are necessary things. I don't love them. I don't embrace them. In fact, sometimes I'll just reach into a tub of spinach and throw it in my mouth just because I know I need it, right? And I don't care dressing anything, because even that barely dresses it up for me, right? So that's dinner. And then at 8:30, I do salami and cheese. So I'll do dry salami and a piece of cheese, and that's my evening snack.
High fat, decent protein, but low to no carb.
Correct. And then that's it. So I'm done eating at 8:30. I eat the next morning. So I have kind of a clear 12-hour fast every day. So that's Monday, Tuesday. And then Wednesday, my cheat meal looks like this. Now, this can be different for lots of people, but once again, I choose to do it around exercise, and I go freaking nuts. Almost all Wednesdays, I eat pizza, and then I eat a tub of Ben & Jerry's. So
brother.
Yeah.
All right. Now so everybody's like, I can do this.
So I and that's my cheat. My cheat is usually my 2 comfort foods that I just love are pizza and ice cream. So I do pizza and ice cream, and I celebrate it, right?
Yeah.
So then the same Thursday, Friday, if I'm trying to lose weight, I will fast on Tuesday, right before my cheat day. And what fasting looks like for me is that I just stop eating at 8:30, and then I eat again the next day at lunch. So I skip breakfast and whatever. So it's really easy, right? If I'm trying to lose weight, I use fasting to lose weight. And if I'm doing that and I'm feeling strong and I'm feeling good, I'll do another fasting day on Friday, again before my cheat day, because remember, fasting is going to shut your metabolism down. I'm working to keep my metabolism going all the time. Like my wife can't sleep next to me in bed because I'm hot. Because my body's just cooking calories all day, right? You know, so I use HIIT training and exercise to keep metabolism high. I eat regularly, and you know, again, so same kind of eating regimen, Thursday, Friday. And then I cheat my ass off on Saturday. What I find is that there's only so much level of cheat I can do, and I just start feeling
like shit. Like a stack of pancakes and then a burger at lunch. And
that's all. I got about 2 meals of cheat in me, and then I'm like, you know, I just got
totally.
It feels great in the beginning, and then I'm kind of like, it's too much. I've reached my level, so I don't ever really achieve a cheat day.
Right.
But I definitely Saturdays. Pancakes or muffins in the morning. At lunch, I'll give the freedom to go out and eat at a restaurant and mow down a burger or whatever. But by that time, dinner's pretty clean because I'm starting to feel it, right? And then I go back into my system. So that's my system. Exercise level, I try to do something every day. And at 47 years old, I focus 3 recovery days and 4 progress days, right? Progress is weightlifting, running, you know, HIIT training, CrossFit, all that stuff. I push it hard. I'm a hard worker outer. I'm out of breath the whole time. I don't lift weights and then stand around for 3 minutes to recover. I'm doing sit-ups. I'm running in the gym. I'm out of breath my whole workout. I don't like anaerobic stuff. I want to be breathing hard and feeling like I'm getting my ass kicked. And my recovery days are things like yoga, body flow. I'll spend like literally an hour on a foam roller. I'm still working, but I'm acknowledging that I'm beating the piss out of my body and I need my joints to flow well. And that's a whole nother subject, but I've spent so much time trying to overcome that. I sit at a desk and that I push it as hard. I mean, I'm number 2 in the nation in Train to Hunt Challenge. We beat the young guys, you know. I mean, we beat the young dudes. We run 50 pound packs this year. We went from 8.3 to 10.2, so almost 2,000 foot climb at a ski resort, to 10,000 feet with 50 pound pack. We made it up in 37 minutes and made it down in 7.
That's so impressive. Like
crazy.
People, anybody who I know we have people watching this who have experienced that level of extreme, and so you know what that means, man. That's high level production.
Right.
I had a question for you, but it's
sorry.
not here. No, don't be sorry. Let's talk about anxiety.
Interesting.
You know, and here's why. Because food. It's food, but it's also historic and it's also individual. And I've got people in my life that I love dearly, and who have anxiety, and they deal with anxiety, chronic anxiety, almost debilitating anxiety that keeps them from living a joyful life that they deserve. And at one point in my life, back in 2002 and 2003, thanks for those hearts, you guys. I think anxiety is a big topic. I literally, because I burn out my nervous system through addiction and stress and unknowing. I just had no idea how I operated, why I behaved the way I behaved. I just knew my life didn't work and I was affecting people around me. And so I fueled myself not on good, healthy food, but on things that kept me awake so I could work more and be responsible and be a good dad. That's bullshit, man. I completely burned out my central nervous system. My nervous system was shot. I couldn't look you in the eye. I was asked to read in meetings, and I can count 2 times that I had to walk out because I would start shaking like this, and I'd hand it off to somebody and I'd just leave. I'm so grateful that I mustered the courage to go back into the rooms and keep practicing, because that's not the way it is today. But it was completely debilitating, and it was like I was non-functioning. So for all of you folks, I know Marc is going to share some incredible gems right now. It's going to give you some understanding, some grace for yourself and for the others in your life. So Talk to me.
So, yeah, I'm kind of looking at the screen for those
Yep.
that are watching it, because I believe there's going to be something in this for all of you, whether you consider yourself an anxiety or sufferer or not. Anxiety is a super important thing to understand, not only maybe for yourself, but maybe for empathy for somebody you love, and you have the ability to convey that a message. Because so without going into great detail, again, I've spent my whole life on personal growth and health and reading every book on codependency and alcoholism and how to remake myself and all those things. One thing I've never really studied was anxiety, right? And it is a cornerstone central hub in my life that has been like, it's been so cool to go and pop that out and have that circle collapse. And now I have tools to pack it away and put it in a little box. And when it shows up again, I can go and collapse it, and it's just awesome. But that circle that anxiety was in my life it was really big. I destroyed a lot of relationships.
Me too.
Taken a shit on people a lot of times because of it. I mean, it's really important for you guys to understand, because it's a slippery, foxy, smart, amazing little enemy that is so hard to recognize till it was explained to me. And it was such a gift to have it explained. So what anxiety, and the way people need to consider it, is that it is physiological. Now, I didn't quite understand what physiological meant, so I'm going to assume that other people don't either.
Right.
Physiological means this is not basal brain. This is not frontal. This is not parietal. This is not what makes us human and cognitive thought and next level thinking type stuff. This is monkey brain. This is lizard brain. This is, I don't get anything. I just get, I'm in danger. That's all I know. All I know, danger, danger, danger. What am I going to do? Fight or run?
So
one or the other.
Anxiety is synonymous with I'm in danger.
It absolutely is telling you that you're in danger. So anxiety has a healthy place in life. Grizzly bear runs out on the road. Whoa. So I instantly go to, and I get it, when I even just made myself kind of re-experience it, I got goosebumps. Okay, that's physiological. Yeah. I didn't think in my brain, I'm going to make all my hair stand on end with my erector pili. It just happened, right? So it's physiological in that the body is making a survival move, right? And we're 100 billion% out of control of it, right? We cannot make these things happen, but we can recognize them and de-escalate them. So grizzly bear steps out on the road. I instantly go, everything, blood flows into my chest and flows into my basal stem. Everything else is now no longer computing. And I'm doing one thing, and I'm saying, do I run or do I fight? Which do I do? And I'm making instantaneous, super quick decisions that are based on danger, 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 right? Mm-hmm. Now, my wife comes in, hey, Marc, I want to talk about finances. I'm feeling a little insecure about what's in the bank account. Fucking grizzly bear for me. Right? So it goes, same response. Danger, danger, danger. Now, is my wife or my finances dangerous to me? Not at all. There's no danger. I have no chance of losing my life. There's nothing dangerous happening, but my body's going danger, danger, danger. So how do I react? Same. Instantaneous decision to fight or to run. And what does fighting and running look like? A billion different things.
Fuck you.
Right. Yeah.
Get out of here.
Right. Really, again,
I'm out of here.
Demeaning, really, you need that? Come on, right? Or whatever. Yeah. Men generally react with fight. Women are pretty, either way, at least in the reading that I've done. But here's what's really interesting. So normal people experiencing anxiety, and now I'm assuming that everybody understands, this is physiological. This is not
a choice. This is why don't you just stop behaving that way?
Correct. This is lizard brain.
Stop my heart.
This is lizard brain. You now have become a threat to me in my life because I can't understand how anxiety works. So I'm at full blown. So what most people, what people who don't have a problem with this, and remember, everybody has different triggers. So you may have no problem with finance, but when she wants to tell you directions in the car, danger, right. danger, danger.
So everybody's different. Everybody's fight or flight is going to, everybody's bear is different.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. But the funny thing is the recognition of it. So one of the things that has really helped me is if on a 1 to 10 scale, something that's not dangerous to me feels like an 8 instead of the 4 it should be, that makes me go, is not anxiety. But what am I going to do now, right? So when it reacts at 8, what immediately happens is your brain then makes up a story. Why is this happening? Because it's trying to decide to fight or flight, right? Very often it'll blame. It'll do all kinds of different things. It'll talk to you and tell you slippery, crazy, horrible lies about why the people you love or the things you're trying to achieve.
It's interesting dangerous. As you're talking about this. Like literally, I found myself. I'm not breathing. Right. I'm remembering moments in my history, and I want to share this. I want to share something with you guys that, you know, I was a chaos kid. Folks divorced at 7. No blame. My parents are truly 2 of my best friends today. Wasn't always the case, man. I just thought they were the enemy. But now I know they were my teachers. But at 7, in the 2nd grade, they divorced. Chaos. My dad was hunting my mom, you know, drinking. It was crazy. And mom was just never around because she was with a guy who I love, bless his heart, man, raging alcoholic, abusive. And so one day I was in my room, it was night, and already just scared shitless, didn't know what the hell the day was going to be. And that guy put on a devil mask and went around to my bedroom window and scratched on the window. I know y'all will laugh, but I tell you what, it was terrifying. I looked out the window and I saw that devil face. Yeah, you laugh now, you fucker. I froze. I could not move. I couldn't scream for my mom. I was like, and I fell on the floor, and I was like Navy SEAling trying to get out of my room. And then they come in and they laugh. They're laughing at me. I know I'm good, but thank you. They laughed. And I tell you what, that was one of those moments where, and this is how we operate. That was a moment when I said, I must not be a man. I'm too weak. I must be a bitch. And I don't mean, I just, in the term of, I'm just not enough. What's wrong with me? Right. And that was a key moment in my life. But what I've noticed is around early in business when I just didn't feel like I fit in and I didn't understand, you know, I was the creative and influential, but I didn't have a lot of skill sets. So if somebody confronted me, if I felt confronted, even if they're going, hey man, how you doing? If I felt like they were confronting me, my body would freeze. And so then yet again, reshore up that false idea that I'm not enough, right? I didn't understand the physiology of this stuff. And so I think it's really important that you're sharing this with people so they can give yourself a break, man. You're a human being, you know, and you're having this experience. We're not taught this stuff in school. We're not taught this stuff in society. We're taught the opposite. Or we watch Top Gun, we watch, you know, Sons of Anarchy, and that's where our society is being taught how to be. And you don't really realize that these people are not out like every night, you know, with these magic lives. Some of them are for a while, and a lot of them end up in recovery centers. The reality is it's made up. Society is a made up construct, and those individuals are being chewed up and spit out left and right. But all you and I see is the pretty faces on GQ magazine, you know, the most attractive person on People magazine. And then obviously you have the Inquirer going to the other side. So the reality is it's our own personal experiences, you know, it's our own life.
So that's interesting because when you go to 8, then your story is I'm not enough. And when you say I'm not enough, then the coping mechanism, fight or flight, looks different based on that fallacy. Right. So then when you go there, then it's what do you do to get back out? And you're trying to de-escalate it. But what happens that's so insidious is because anxiety is so deflating with the other person who's interacting with it. There's no resolution when somebody's in anxiety. They're in their lizard brain. Having a rational conversation with somebody's at level 8 anxiety, even though they think they are and you think they are,
they're not. It's not
their lights are off. Nobody's home. I'm just in survival mode.
That's really important for people to understand. Yes, I understand. it's not happening. They don't realize that that they don't know. It's not happening.
Correct. Yeah. So lots of times things like indecision is the best friend of anxiety.
Oh, dude.
Right? Mm-hmm. Well, no decision's easier than a decision, right? Indecision, confusion. That's my wife's game. Yeah. My wife's coping mechanism for solving anxiety is to do nothing.
Yeah.
Mine is to do too much. Right?
Yeah.
So
I go on both the
polls.
I do the polls. I have in the past, and I'm finding a middle ground.
Yeah. So the problem is that the resultant activity that we choose when we're in full-blown anxiety almost always re-escalates it back up to 8 again. Right?
Keeps it chronic.
Yeah.
You out.
Just
and you can't stay in fight or flight forever.
You can't.
It will break your body down.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I've found, for me, it's been really cool. So what do you do?
Yeah.
Number one is, G.I. Joe, knowing's half the battle, right?
Yeah.
So I've now learned that when my chest is tingly and I feel that the hairs on the back of my neck stand up and my blood pressure goes, whoosh, and I can feel this energetic rising almost within myself, I go, there's anxiety. Okay. And I'm owning it with people who really, on a business setting, my employees, stuff like that, but I have to do that, but they're not prepared. It's the funniest, interesting thing that's one of the reasons I love you is that I can say whatever and you'll be like, dude, I get it.
Yeah.
But most people can't have those levels of conversations because they just haven't explored the next eye. They're still rolling down the river denial and,
right.
So they're on that track and that's cool, and they're in their experiment too, right? I mean, they have levels that they're getting to, but getting to the point where your boss brings you in, you have an issue, and I respond with, hey, just give me a second. I'm really dealing with some anxiety. I want to make sure I answer this from a clear place. So just give me a second. Okay, so here's what I think about that.
Nice.
That's the kind of thing I'm doing now.
Nice.
And it's made all the difference in the world to be able to clearly respond to people in a way that isn't the monkey brain.
Yeah.
That doesn't say, well, man up, fucker.
Yeah.
It says, geez, I can see how that is something for you and I get it, but I also need to hold you accountable. And there's certain constraints that you need to operate within in this company. And that doesn't go away.
Yeah.
So I get that you got that going on and I'm going to support you fixing that so this happens, but I'm not going to support me placating that and not still making sure that I'm holding you accountable to what you're here to do.
So what you're talking about is a level that a lot of people, I pray they get to that place. And thanks again for the feedback. Like I was on that river of denial for years, and it was only because in my house, because of that story I shared with you, that I just felt like I wasn't enough. I was never going to admit that. And I certainly wasn't going to find help for it to be exposed that might be the truth. So I just went on my own with these poor little broken 7-year-old tools till I went off the frickin' over the waterfall. The boat's destroyed. I'm drowning and I'm on the side. It took this, metaphorically, laying on the side of the river. I can't get up. And I finally had to say, fuck, I need some help. Please help me. And that was when my life began. And that's when it began in earnest. And that's when I realized that the guys out there, you've got more freaking firearms and weapons than most people, but I truly view you as one of like an idyllic man, a man's man, a woman's man, a child's man. And you said it best, it's velvet and steel. You got a steel hand and a velvet heart, and you know when to use both. And too many people out there in this platform are naming, blaming, and shaming, holding on to these little tools from their little boyhood, and they are saying this is what a man is. And I'm telling you, we've got these messages that are so skewed today. When the person at the realm, at the top, is calling our citizenry names, if they're saying it's this one side, not realizing that there's 360 degrees. Come on, man. We've got to begin to be responsible for ourselves, think for ourselves, understand, what is that new definition of a man? I know you, man. You are one of the kindest people. I see you with your boys. I see you with Sue. Our interactions are always kind. I tell you what, this guy's a freaking warrior, man. And we've had that conversation, and this might freak people out. But you just said you were really clear. It's like, listen, Troy, I love you, man. I love you. Because we had one of those deep, long drives to Sacramento to a show one time. And he says, you're my friend. but there is a hierarchy, and that is God, that is my wife, that is my family. And if anybody, you included, ever get in the way of that, I will fucking kill you. And I was like shocked. Like, well, I'm obviously not your friend. I now get it. I get it. So you guys out there being mean and name calling, we look at what we look with. If you're bitching about somebody or calling somebody out on something, 99.999% of the time it's something that you personally need to work on. And so go to work on that stuff and keep your mouth shut and don't make it somebody else's problem. Right?
For sure.
And so, yeah, I respect you deeply for that.
Thanks,
because
man.
It's, and this is a guy who's got a tree house in his backyard. He's got a zip line for his kids. He's got his pet goats right in the middle of downtown Boise, by the way. and
my little pet squirrel.
Yeah, how's Buddy doing, man?
She's got babies.
Dude, I just cracked my when you said, "Look, boobs."
Right.
And then the following week, we got these pictures of baby squirrels and stuff.
Yeah.
So freaking cool.
Yeah,
so
that squirrel gives me so much joy. It's the craziest thing. Yeah, it's the craziest thing. But anyway.
Well, I want to end with like my part with this, and then we'll go into parting thoughts. Is a lot of people out there are not embodying what they're saying. They say that, I'm all this and I'm all that, and there's not just one way. It is velvet and steel and everything in between, and being intelligent enough and caring enough to identify when it's time for all of it. Too many people are out there with just the steel. And I tell you what, that is not what we need right now, man. We need a combination. We need all of it, and we need intelligence. Right?
Well, yeah, and I want to speak to it. I mean, I personally think there's less men that are just steel. I think society has tried to rip the pants off of the man in the household, and they absolutely want him to be the man of velvet and not celebrate his capability to be dangerous.
Right.
That's what makes us who we are. Our capability, not the act. Right?
Deeply hear that.
Yeah.
The capability, not the act.
Right. So, I mean, it's the old big stick scenario, right? I don't ever got to pull it off my shoulder if I got a giant one and everybody knows, right? I get to be that gentle guy. I get to be that. But when somebody else steps in my kid's shoes, it's a look.
Right.
I only need to make a look and people are super clear because I'm super clear. Right?
Yeah. That's a gift.
Yeah. Well, and it wasn't always there. I grew up feeling like a coward. I'm going to tell you, man. I remember my baseball coach said, "Hey, any of you guys sitting on this bench," I mean, this is the old days, right?
Yeah.
"Any of you guys sitting on this bench, if there's a fight out on the field and anybody's still sitting on this bench, you're off this team." He goes, "If somebody fights, you're all fighting." That was the hard-nosed baseball team I was playing for at 16 years old. Yeah. And I was with 18-year-olds that were way bigger than me. And I was like, "Oh, I don't want to fight." Right? I just hope it doesn't happen. Right?
Right. Yeah.
And I remember the day where I learned that I could have courage for people that I love. And I protected my sister in a concert setting when there was this big crowd surge, and I looked in her eyes and she was terrified, and I grabbed her and I would have stepped on Mr. T's face to get her out of there. Yeah. And then I went, wow, okay, cool. I do have it when it matters. I don't have it when it's petty and stupid and the high schooly stuff that was going on. That never made sense to me.
Right.
But when somebody I love's in danger, look the fuck out.
You reminded me of Nako's song. He says, "I will pray for compassion, but I'll keep my knife at my side. But if war comes to my door, I will be blasting warrior mentality, taking it to my people. Tell me, can you hear me?" And that's what that reminds me of. Hey, I'll pray for compassion and be peaceful, but I got my knife at my side. And if war comes to my door, which we all have our own wars, I'll be blasting, for principles, not to protect my fucking ego.
Right. Yeah. Well, and again, I mean, it's a unique gift that I believe wives need to celebrate in their man, is that they are now walking life with somebody who will fucking kill or die for them.
Yeah.
That's a rare thing. That's a rare thing. That's very male. I believe women are capable of it, but it's very male and it's very special and it's very anointed.
It is.
Right?
Yeah, it is.
It's anointed. It's given to us by God. God gave us some great things as men. And I hate that society wants me to feel embarrassed of it. Fuck that.
Right.
Just not going to do it. So anyway, that's
not one of those, dude. I love that. That's what I see. That's one of the things that Marc has given me the ability to do, is the things that we're all human. They're all human elements, male and female, is to be emotional, to share our heart, and be trusted that we can do that. And I pray to God you've got people like that in your life, because what you're talking about, we have, again, and I'm not against anything, but I recognize when we have our little kids being raised by TV shows where the father's an oaf and oof, and the kids are smarter than the dad, and they're running the show and dad just sits in the back, like, Family Guy, all that stuff. Dude, that is training. That is a training ground. And so, man, like you said, shut your TV off, man, and go experience life. And you've been such an example to me as I get on Facebook, and I really believe this, that all suffering stems from an obsession with self. And when I see you out there with your family in the backcountry, cooking over a fire, doing amazing things constantly, because he created a life to be that. I just admire and respect the hell out of you, brother.
Thanks, man.
It's huge.
Thanks. Well, so yeah, I'm just glad. It's fun to be here. I do my own podcast and I talk hunting and fishing.
Talk about that. Where can people find you? Because I want them to, and we'll put it in the comments. But
yeah, it's a hunting and fishing and outdoor and there's very little personal growth. It's, I own Outdoors International. We're a hunt consulting firm. We're the guys that you call to put a hunt together all over the world. We're the people who help you to make sure you're doing it right. And
so if I want a Russian black bear, I call you.
Correct. Yeah. Right yeah. And, we don't do things that are unethical. We don't do things that are amoral. We're a good family company, and we celebrate the fact that we are predators. And I'm not going to excuse that part of me. But at Outdoors International, the podcast is about, global hunting and fishing adventures. We talk a lot about health and wellness because I get fired up about it, and I need to be fit to do the things that I do.
Are you going to come out with a course?
I don't think so.
Man, if it makes sense, man, I would love to work with you on that and just bring the team together and record some stuff and put some stuff out there. If you guys would like that, make a comment and we'll encourage. I'll just follow you around. I won't take your time. I'll just follow you around and take notes and record and we'll share it with people.
No worries. I mean, I would be glad to help people with that, but I'm just no guru. I'm a tinkerer, right? I'm a guy who's figured it out for me,
right?
And it may apply and all that different stuff. But anyway, so godhunts.com is where they can find me. I also, run packgoats.com. It's a gift that I give people, is to get to know a goat. They'd be surprised.
I know a goat. I know Raven. I know Raven real well. And I got bigger forearms milking Raven while he was hunting than I did deadlifting. It was incredible.
It takes a lot of strength to milk a goat.
Yeah, and it's not like this. It's like Marc said, like this, like squeezing like this. Dude.
It is an art form.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and then I'm over there going, because you get so fast at it. So anyway, packgoats.com, Outdoors International, godhunts.com. If you want to follow me on Facebook, make sure you send me a private message, because I get about 100 friend stuff a day.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of filtering now because I'm getting at that 5,000-ish mark. And I want to have people who have genuine interest that aren't just, friending randomly and stuff like that. And then I do Instagram and YouTube. And if they want to watch our YouTube adventures, it's Outdoors International.
Brother, your videos are beautiful, man. Again, because I know your heart and you do all the editing and all this. And it's just the way they're put together. You guys you'll fall in love with it, man. Whether you're a hunter or not, you'll fall in love with the outdoors, and you'll fall in love with this guy and all the people he works with, because they're really good people, man.
Yeah, I would say to your listeners, if you're willing to be curious, watch a piece that we did. It was a short film called "The Birth of a Bow Hunter" with my son Jake.
Dude, that was
I know.
It was so good.
Yeah, so it's the only hunting video that you'll ever watch that will make you cry, is what I say.
Birth of an elk hunter?
Birth of a bow hunter.
Birth of a bow hunter.
Yeah, so my 11-year-old shot a bear with his bow, and just the process of that, and watching him, do kind of his rituals to manhood. I mean, think about that, Troy. Think about that. We used to have all these criteria, rites of passage. We don't anymore.
No, you can get to the next level on the video game. That's rite of passage bullshit.
Right. Or sports accolades, or whatever it is. There is these higher meaning things that we've morphed into, but hunting for Jacob was one of those, and that piece is just really beautiful. So if you're genuinely curious, Birth of a Bow Hunter, Outdoors International, YouTube, I think you'd really enjoy it. It's a beautiful piece on a young boy who shoots a bear with his bow.
So cool.
Anyway, yeah.
Well, and I love, and I won't go into any of this because there are conversations and they're exciting about some things that are going to manifest in the future that are contributive, such as potentially like rites of passage type experiences for families too, not just boys, but young ladies too. Because by God, they got warrior in them too, right?
They do, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no question. Mother Bear is way. I mean, I celebrate that part of a woman. So I know we get really manly here, and they may think it's like masculine and stuff, but I'll tell you what, man.
Those women,
oh, there's no question. So I think that's really important that we're clear about that. I just can't speak to it from personal experience, right? Because I don't have boobs and a vagina.
no boobs and a vagina, and they're a little scary, but they're worth getting to know. I appreciate everybody taking time, and if you found value here, please like it, comment, and share it with some folks who could use some encouragement. That anxiety conversation that Marc shared, I think is incredibly powerful. I got really emotional as Marc was sharing that, because I've got people in my life who are very, very close to me, and and their anxiety stems my anxiety, and I'm just I have a mouth on me, man. I can just hurt people. It's only because I'm scared, and I didn't really realize that mechanism to cope with that. So. Be good to you guys. Marc, thank you, man. I love you. Appreciate you. You guys have a great day. Love to hear your feedback. Cheers.